When a player goes through an impressive rookie campaign, the question that comes up is whether they will endure a sophomore slump. If they do, this indicates there is some sort of weakness that the opponent is able to exploit. This could be the inability to hit off-speed pitches or the tendency to let opponents know what pitch is coming by tipping pitches. In whatever manner this occurs, second-year players have shown a tendency to slump in their sophomore season. During the 2020 season, one of the players that fell into a slump was Padres starting pitcher Chris Paddack. I can show you the evidence of his sophomore slump with just one graphic. Look at these percentile rankings. How does a guy who looked like an above-average pitcher in 2019 regress to this extremity? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. After Paddack was traded by the Marlins to the Padres in mid-2016, he underwent Tommy John surgery in response to a torn UCL. He returned to the mound at the start of the 2018 season, beginning his year in high A ball. Paddack ended his season in Double A, producing noteworthy stats along the way, which increased his stock as a prospect. Baseball America pointed out Paddack's lively fastball, along with a devastating changeup, considered one of the best in the minor leagues. However, his third pitch, a looping curveball, is a rarely used below-average pitch. This next paragraph, I think, basically encapsulates the current trajectory of Paddack's career. Keep in mind, this was written during spring training in 2019, before Paddack's MLB debut. With the aggressive approach of MLB hitters, Paddack's fastball, changeup, and control will continue to play up. That said, the lack of a third pitch that he trusts could also lead to struggles as the game goes on, and opposing hitters grow more familiar with him. Will he be able to get through opposing lineups 3 times? That's something we can't answer this spring, but will further limit his value if he's only working 5 innings a start. Wins will be more difficult to obtain. In 2019, Paddack's innings and starts were limited, as he only began pitching post-Tommy John surgery the year prior. He spent the first 2 months of the season with the Padres, producing very appealing numbers. However, in mid-June, Paddack was sent down to the Lake Elsinore Storm in high A ball. The reasoning for this demotion was due to Paddack's workload, as by this point, he had pitched 2/3 of the innings he pitched in 2018. He was called back up to the big league squad after a week and a half, and spent the rest of his season with the Padres. While he wasn't in the Rookie of the Year conversation as he was limited to only 140 innings, Paddack proved that he belongs in the big leagues. He was awarded for his 2019 performance by being named the 2020 opening day starter for the Padres, a game where he allowed no runs and only 4 hits in 6 innings of work. However, in his following start, Paddack began a worrying trend. He allowed multiple home runs in each of his next 7 starts, including 3 multi-home run games. By the end of the year, Paddack had allowed 14 home runs, tied for 3rd most in the entire league. He was also among the league's worst in home runs per fly ball and home runs per 9. However, it wasn't just the home runs. The unfortunate reality became apparent. Paddack was not the same pitcher. Comparing the stats of his only 2 seasons in the league, it's clear that the hitters were able to recognize what he was throwing, leading to a much higher hits per 9 and home runs per 9. Like I mentioned earlier, a key indicator of how Paddack performs against big league hitters would be how he fares the second and third time through the order. In 2019, Paddack was much worse the second time through the order, and the innings limit may have diminished potential damage later in the game. Although in 2020, Paddack was being lit up the first time around the batting order. How were hitters able to recognize these pitches so easily? Well, it really comes down to the quality of pitches. I mentioned earlier how the lack of a third pitch would come back to bite Paddack once hitters grew familiar with him. Well, as seen with his hard hit percentage ranking in the 5th percentile, it's safe to say hitters grew familiar with him. A typical successful Paddack at-bat consists of a first pitch strike with a fastball. After some more well-placed pitches, Paddack finishes the batter off with a changeup. This is a typical Paddack at-bat. However, in 2020, Paddack fell behind in more counts than in 2019. In 2019, Paddack led the league in first pitch strike percentage. In 2020, he fell to number 6, which is still impressive, but there is a more glaring issue. The most significant change in his fastball was the inability to locate, as the vertical and horizontal breaks of the pitch rose significantly, which ultimately led to more pitches left over the plate. The results can be seen in the astounding rises in opponent batting average, slugging percentage, and hard hit percentage. This can be seen in this matchup against AJ Pollock. After a missed first pitch strike, Paddack throws a fastball over the heart of the plate that Pollock doesn't swing at. Now he will definitely be ready for the next mistake pitch. After a curveball out of the zone, Paddack's fastball breaks too far into the zone, away from Hedges' glove, resulting in a home run. After a few starts, a Padres fan on Twitter noticed that Paddack's throwing delivery tilted more towards a 3/4 arm slot, which inevitably leads to more two-seam action. Paddack throws a 4-seam fastball. Also, the Padres hired a new pitching coach for the 2020 season, Larry Rothschild. So make of that what you will. Another at-bat I want to highlight is one that Paddack mentions in a post-game interview.
If I could take one pitch back, man, it'd be the fastball to Olsen. I really, when I got taken out there in the 5th inning, I sat down and reflected on some things that, happened during the game, and that's the one that kept knobbing on my head there, throbbing on my head.
In a loss where he gave up 4 earned runs, he says this fastball against Matt Olson is the one that irks him the most. He began the at-bat with a fastball that Olson fouled off. Paddack decides to use his new cutter, but Olson wasn't falling for it. After a called strike on a fastball in the bottom of the zone, there are 2 options for the 1-2 count. A changeup down and away, Paddack's bread and butter pitch, or a fastball up and out of the zone. Paddack chose the latter. However, the fastball he threw decided to fall down the ladder, which Olson was able to hit for a 2 RBI triple. Not only did Paddack completely miss the target, he put the pitch in the same area as the first pitch, a pitch that Olson fouled off. Olson was searching for a pitch like this, and a hitter of his caliber doesn't let 2 pitches like that pass by. It's made even worse when you realize Paddack throws this pitch nearly 60% of the time. There's only so much you can do with 2 trusted pitches. Speaking of other pitches, his changeup was just as effective as it was in 2019, but don't expect a starting pitcher to throw 3 changeups each at bat. In 2020, Paddack continued to experiment with his curveball and newly made cutter. Neither pitch seemed to fool batters. A struggling starting pitcher that throws 2 of their 4 total pitches nearly 90% of the time is likely not a tough opponent for batters. Although it is worth noting, Paddack's fall from his rookie success is oddly circumstantial. Paddack made his MLB debut with a season-long innings limit as the result of Tommy John surgery. 1 season later, entering his sophomore season with the possibility of slumping, like other players do, he now has to pitch a 60-game season, which ends up being 12 starts. There was a period in 2019 between late July and late August where Paddack played absolutely terrible, even worse than 2020. But he ended the year on a high note. So I wonder if Paddack played a 162-game season with no innings limit, would Paddack continue his poor form? Though this doesn't take away from the fact that he lost command of his fastball, a crucial element to his limited 2-pitch mix. If Paddack can find a third pitch that works for him, he would likely succeed in the Padres' new rotation. If he continues to struggle locating his fastball, I'd say he might have to be placed in the bullpen. Although, fans can't turn on him after one short season. Hopefully, Paddack is working on reinventing himself in preparation for the 2021 season. A reinvigorated Chris Paddack with 3 solid pitches is a great piece to the Padres rotation. How Paddack performs in 2021 may indicate not only his future in San Diego, but his future in baseball. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.